Welcome in, everybody. Here's the thing. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. We got a lot of Phillies conversations to go over with. Let's go.
Oh my God!
I'm embarrassed!
He's flying!
Welcome in. It's almost time.
Welcome in, everybody, to Here's the Thing with Mitch Williams. I'm Tom Arnone. Everybody out there, welcome in. Appreciate you tuning in with us for another episode. Through the show, we'll get into our Trea Turner talk. Not only offensively, we'll break that down a little bit for you, but defensively, he's been anemic. He's been butchering little league stuff. So we'll get into that through the show. We'll give you a preview of a big series coming up, Phillies versus Mets. Preview that. Situational baseball concerns continue for the Phillies. Walker, Wheeler, shine versus Braves. So we'll go over some of that, some of the positivity that happened in the Atlanta series. And our main topic is Phillies split series with Braves. Not even our main topic. Everything's our main topic with Phillies. And it ties into our poll question. And also, we are brought to you by Philly Sports Trips every Monday. And hey, Birds fans, Tom Arnone with some huge news. Philly Sports Trips has released their Eagles schedule. Make sure you go see my friends from PhillySportsTrips.com and reserve your spot today. You'll get a hang and watch a Birds game in a great city with former Eagles like Hollis Thomas and the likes. Philly Sports Trips books at the best hotels and has the best Eagles available. You know you'll have a blast. Book now and tell them A2D sent you. Mitch, my brother, what's happening?
Right now, I'm fighting with my cat. This cat wants to get on this show. and honestly, the way the Phillies played last night, they might want to see my cat because the Phillies stunk last night on both sides of the ball. I'm sorry, but Covey or however you say it, that is not a big league pitcher. He is a guy that you bring out of the bullpen when the game is out of hand. I still cannot figure out why they don't put Strom in that 5 spot in the rotation.
I don't know either. I don't know if there's something we're missing on it. We talked about it last night. A bunch of people were chiming in to the show, and they were like, why not Strom? He's done well in that role. It's a fifth starter role. It's better than Bailey Falter. I don't know. I don't know what their reasoning is for that.
Well,
I don't know what makes him
about
think Kobe's better.
He neutralizes left-handed hitters. I mean, with his breaking ball, he throws across his body, which means he hides the ball well. He hides the ball well from right-handers as well. He just has to stay out of the middle of the plate because, he's not going to go out there and throw 99, but he has big league stuff. I have no clue why they're not using him in that role.
I don't know either. I don't know what made him think, Dylan Covey was going to be better. I don't know what would make him think that. And especially when you're throwing him against a Braves lineup that absolutely mashes and has mashed in the first inning all year. They rank number 1 in first inning hits, runs, homers. The list goes on. Anything you can name them. So, and they were, like you said before the show, they were ready to go. They were hunting first pitches and everything with him last night.
Yep.
And obviously you saw it. Everything was up in the zone. There was nothing down in the zone. So all his breaking stuff was just hanging up there. His changeup was a beach ball to these guys, and the Braves took advantage of it last night.
His sinker. In order for
Yes.
you to say you have a sinker, your ball needs to sink. And it didn't sink. Those guys were in that Atlanta dugout taping their hands up for the fight at the bat rack because they could not wait to get up there and hit. And when you're in that situation, you better bring someone else in to stop the bleeding. And defensively, Turner did not help. I've played with one guy that could go down on a ground ball, and that was Ryan Sandberg. He was one of the worst mechanical fielders you ever saw, but he got it done every single day. Trea Turner last night he's starting up, if you're up, you can't see what the baseball's going to do. You have to be down to see what kind of hop it's going to take. And that last night, that was embarrassing. To pay the guy $300 million to go out there, and I believe that's his 8th error already, and we're in May. You can't take your at-bats in the field with you, and that is exactly what he's doing.
Yeah, and listen, I'll double dip on this too, okay? And my double dip is not only you getting $300 million, with $300 million, if guys like it, don't like it, I don't care. What comes with that is a responsibility. And that responsibility is to lead on the field. I'm not telling you have to be the greatest clubhouse leader of all time. You don't have to be that guy. You can lead by example. Chase Utley in this city led by example year in and year out, okay?
Yep.
And it starts with the routine stuff, right? If he's diving in the hole and it bounces off his glove or diving up the middle, bounces off his glove or going to his backhand in the hole and it's a deep play, right? And he doesn't get the transfer out quick enough. We're all like, okay, that's a tough play. We all got eyeballs. The errors he's been making, I will sit here right now and tell everybody this. I have a 14U kid who makes every one of those plays. Every one of those plays. That's how easy they are. So I'm not telling you he's going to make the play up the middle and do a spinorama and throw a big league guy out of first base. What I will tell you is he makes that play last night and throws the runner out. So that's what's got to change. Like you said, carrying it from his at-bats into the field and just leading by example on the field. You can struggle at the plate. Every hitter in the history of baseball at some point has struggled. All right?
Absolutely.
So, but you can't. You've always been a damn good defensive shortstop. One of the better ones at your position. Yeah. So that's unacceptable. That's where I draw the line.
Yeah, that for me as a pitcher, I would be pissed off. Because, number one, you're not hitting. Okay, you're not hitting. I understand that. Hitters go through streaks. No problem. But when you don't make the routine play behind me, that tells me you're not focusing on your job. You have 2 jobs: to take the bat to the plate, do the best you can, and go on the field and do your job. That you can control. You can't really control your at-bats because pitchers are coming at you with different stuff every single at-bat. That I understand. To a point.
Yeah.
But to take it on the field and have a ball go right through the 5-hole last night, that's embarrassing. And you can see it all over his face. I don't understand a guy. If they gave me $300 million, I would be the loosest guy on the field. Honestly, I know I'm getting $300 million. I'm going to have so much fun, focus on everything I do. They don't even take infield anymore at the big league level. Kevin Stocker said the other day on the radio, during BP, after you took BP, you went to first base and you read the ball off the bat. You did that twice, then you went to second base, read the ball off the bat. Third base, they don't do any of that anymore. They're getting paid enormous amounts of money, and they're not practicing the fundamentals of the game.
Which is amazing. I mean, I know down in Atlanta they do, because I know who their third base coach is, and I know the work he puts in to their infield
Ron
work.
Washington.
Yeah, and they put the work in.
Ron. Yeah.
And they put the work in down there, and it shows. It shows. And honestly, I've stolen, I can't tell you, countless drills from him on the stuff he does with infielders to use myself. So, and so I don't know how other teams aren't doing it. Their defense shows. I mean, he said the kind of work that he puts in with his infielders. I remember listening to him say this, last year. But he said when he first started doing this with Ozzie Albies, right, it took Ozzie Albies a good 6 months to really start trusting himself with some of the drills they were doing, right?
He's a talented kid.
Yeah, pretty good, right? Pretty good guy. And it took him 6 months. So it just shows you the level of work they're putting in down in Atlanta. But it's showing year in and year out. Their defensive stuff really shows. Austin Riley, I don't know if he came up as a guy that they expected a ton from defensively. I knew they knew he could swing it, but I don't think thought they were getting Chipper Jones defensively, right? And his defense is really good. And I venture to guess it wasn't that good when he came up. And I think that's a lot of credit to the work they do.
In my opinion, this is nothing against Bryce. I love Bryce Harper and the way he plays the game of baseball. But when he won the MVP, I honestly believed Austin Riley deserved that MVP. What he did for the Braves that year was unbelievable. Not to take anything away from what Bryce did, but in a clutch situation, Austin Riley showed up. And that's what he did in this series.
He did.
You can't hang a breaking ball to the man, I can tell you that.
No, you can't. I feel like he shows up every one, right?
Yeah.
I mean, against us, he does. And he definitely hits Nola.
He kills our pitching. And that was the thing that aggravated me about Nola. He had second and third and nobody out. And was bouncing breaking ball after breaking ball after breaking ball. And they're swinging at it. Next time up, throws a curveball for a strike to him. And he hits another home run. Why not pitch the same way? Make them chase. They've shown that they will chase. Make them chase. Stay out of the strike zone. I'll make you a bet, Tom. If they broke down or did a tape of every at-bat in the big leagues during the season, 95% of those at-bats of the outs are made on balls. They are not made on strikes. Strikes get hit. You get ahead and then expand the zone and take advantage of the hitter's, not only his ego, but the fact that he's in the hole. If you can put a hitter in the hole, you're the offensive guy there as a pitcher. You don't have to throw him a strike. See how far you can make him chase. And in that one inning, he left those two guys out there with no outs. And I don't think he threw a strike. It was all breaking balls in the dirt, and he got the punch outs he needed and got out of it. Then went right back out there to face Riley and hung a curveball right in the middle.
Nope, still hasn't landed yet either. But after you said that to me the other night, I started watching for it even more. Right when you texted me that, 95% of outs come from balls. Right.
Absolutely.
So I started looking more, and I was like, I couldn't believe what I was seeing, honestly, because guys get themselves out.
Exactly.
Right? And 95% of the time, you can say guys get themselves out, and that's what you watch. If you watch enough games around the league, I mean, now you got the box, so the box tells you if it's a strike or not. So now it's not even a guessing game. Like when you're watching it on TV, to see it, and you're right about a lot of things, right? But the other side of it is, after you get that first strike. To your point of
the pressure's off you.
Yeah.
It's on him. It's all a shift in pressure. When you go out there in the ninth inning, when I was coaching kids, I would tell my hitters the pressure is on him to throw strikes. If he throws strike one, now the pressure shifts. It comes to you. But to start with, it's on the pitcher. And they just don't grasp it. Even at the big league level. They don't grasp that mindset.
There's not enough patient hitters as there used to be around, and just in baseball in general. I think there's way too many guys that are scared to hit with two strikes. I think some of the best hitters of all times are guys that aren't scared of that situation. Exactly. And I think that's what happens. I think, and if hitting guys, I understand it because I talk on this too, but you want to talk about hunting fastballs early. Of course you want to hunt a fastball early, right? But that fastball's got to be in a little box. It's a little box that I'm hunting. And last night, you brought it up as well. The JT swing, right? That irks me. That's almost a selfish swing. And he's not selfish player. So I'm not saying that. That's a selfish swing.
It's Feel the room. Stupid baseball play. When you got a pitcher on the mound, Charlie Morton, on the mound, he intentionally walks Bryce. He walks Schwarber on 4 pitches, goes 3-0 with the bases loaded, and you let a guy that's hitting 214 with runners in scoring position, you let him swing 3-0 there. That was one of the dumbest baseball plays I've seen in a long time. You cannot let him swing because you just took the pressure off him again. And that's not what you want as an offense. Leave the pressure on the pitcher when you have it on him. Look at what Atlanta did to Covey last night. It was just bat after bat after bat. They couldn't wait to get up there and hit. The pressure was on him from the first pitch of the game when Acuna Jr. lined it back up the middle. I knew that it was going to be a long night.
Yeah. As soon as it started, it was like, oh, this is not gonna be good. Want to talk, since we're on, we're on hitting, we're on starting pitching, we're on a little bit of everything. But to talk about starting pitching, can they wait until the deadline to make a move, or do they have to do something now, Mitch?
I think they have to put Strom in the rotation, in the 5-hole, and leave him alone. Let him get comfortable there. The kid ain't scared. That's the first thing I look for in a young pitcher. Is he scared? He ain't scared. Covey last night, you couldn't have drove a grease needle up his butt with a 10-pound sledgehammer. I mean, he was scared to death, and it showed all over his face. But Strom ain't scared. So that would be the move I'd make right now. I think Ranger's going to get better with every start.
Yeah.
With his location, with his changeup. I'm not worried about that. Wheeler finally stayed closed. He stayed closed with his upper body for 8 straight innings. And I thought that was a stupid move, too, to take him out of that game and bring Kimbrel in, because I texted you. I said, this is a mistake, because the Atlanta dugout was doing cartwheels when they got somebody else out there on the mound, because they don't want to face Wheeler again.
No, they didn't. They didn't. No. And credit to Craig. I got a question for you about him as we go through the show. But are you happy? Like, what I mean by happy is, when we talked last week, I sort of talked leading up to this series that I was good with 2-2 in this series. That would make me feel okay, right? And they went and did that. Are we good? Do we feel a little bit better seeing them go down there and compete and win two out of 4? Do we feel a little bit better about what we just watched, or do we feel the same as we felt last Monday?
I feel better, because Walker, if Taijuan Walker can go out there, locate his fastball, and use his split to get ground balls, he's a tough pitcher to face. And Wheeler, when he does what he does, he's an ace. That's all there is to it. Nola's a big question mark in my mind. You don't know what you're going to get out of him from start to start. I've never met the man. I've heard he's a great guy. But the thing is, you have to show up every start. Every single start. When you're a guy that finished 4th in the Cy Young voting, and you're going out there and putting up the kind of start you're putting up this year, it's unacceptable.
Well, I think he falls in love with certain things too. Like, I don't want to go too far off on Nola, but he was a fastball changeup guy on Friday nights at LSU. I don't know why I feel like he doesn't love his changeup as much. I don't know why I feel like he sort of loves the curve more than he likes his changeup. That as a hitter, a changeup is harder to recognize than a curveball is. All right, just in hitting, period. Right, it's just harder. It's going to look like a fastball. It's going to come out like a fastball, and it's not a fastball. Right. So, I watch a guy like Spencer Strider, fastball, fastball changeup. Granted, fastball is 98, 99. I get it. Right. But he's really getting away with 2 pitches. Well, exactly. Nola can do the same thing, and he did it. I don't know. The curveball became something that he has. I have no problem with him having it in his arsenal and having it in his toolbox, but I feel like he falls in love with it too much. Whereas fastball changeup was better.
The one pitch he needs to eliminate is his cutter. Number one, he can't command it. If you can't command your cutter, because he's cutting the baseball, there's a difference. Mariano Rivera and Kenley Jansen are the only 2 guys I've ever seen that threw a natural cutter. They both had to think, how do I throw a 4-seamer in on a right-hander? Because that wasn't their cutter delivery. It was a natural delivery. That's how it came out of their hand. And they both commanded it. Nola has 0 command of his cutter. So all it becomes is an 89-mile-an-hour flat hit-me pitch. and the way hitters are swinging the bat right now, you have to eliminate the worst pitch in your arsenal and concentrate on the 3 that you actually can command.
Absolutely. That's the thing. And before we go to a quick break, that's the thing with Wheeler that they cleaned up when he got here. Like they said, hey, Zach, I got you. You got 8 pitches, right? But 3 of them are elite. Three of those pitches are elite. Stick to what you're elite at. You don't have to have an arsenal of 8 pitches. Like what kind of massaging are we doing? Like when does that need it? Like that's cool when you get like a Japanese pitcher and you're like, guy's got 22 pitches. And he's got pitches you never heard of, and you're like, all right, cool, right? But like, come on, when you can throw 99 and not just 99 with a lot of movement to it, period,
and
right?
Location.
I don't need to have 5 more things that I gotta have the hitter worry about.
and that's Covey. Covey pitched over in China. They claim he has 6 or 7 or 8 pitches.
Okay.
How about learning to command 2? Because last night, he didn't have command of a thing. The Braves went up there knowing anything he threw, they could hit. There's something in his delivery that hitters are recognizing before he lets go of the ball. He's tipping something.
Yeah, absolutely. And he was hanging everything. I'll tell you one spot he didn't miss. He didn't miss a barrel last night. So credit to him there.
The thing that bothers me about that, how do you stand on a mound and get beat around like that, and he didn't make one hitter move their feet? When you're getting hit, you better make the hitter move their feet. And I'm not saying throw at him, but you have to come in. You have to show that you're going to come in on a guy and make him move his feet, make him uncomfortable. There was nobody in that Braves lineup last night uncomfortable.
Nope, not even a little bit. And Trea Turner probably should, give him a couple bucks of walking around money for being responsible for those extra 2 runs too. When we probably could have kept that 5-0, got out of it. Not that we feel good 5-0, but it's definitely 5-0 is a little easier to come back in.
Well, then Strider didn't go out there and put up a shutdown inning. Marsh hit a 2-run homer. That gave them life, but they broke down that. Turner's swing last night, and he's wrapping his barrel behind his head so much. That's why he can't catch up to a 91-mile-an-hour fastball.
Well, let's say that. We're going to come right back. We're going to talk about Trea Turner. We're going to get into previewing a little bit of the Phillies Mets series coming up. We'll still get to our poll question that I just saved because obviously we wanted to review some stuff too. We wanted to go backwards. We'll come out. We'll talk about Trea Turner at the plate. We'll continue to talk about this baseball team and runners in scoring position.
We have to tell everybody Happy Memorial Day.
Yeah, everybody told us. We have not told anybody back. So,
yeah, Happy Memorial Day to everybody listening.
Yep, Happy Memorial Day for sure. And just hang right with us. We'll be back in 40 seconds.
Hey Birds fans, the NFL schedule has arrived and Philly Sports Trips has all the details now. Visit the site phillysportstrips.com. This is sure to be an epic season. Be sure to go there now to make sure that you don't get shut out. Join us in Tampa, LA, Seattle, or when we get revenge in Kansas City. Don't want to fly? No problem. Gather up your crew and hop aboard one of our signature boisterous bus trips to DC or New York. Sign up now and make sure to mention A2D. Don't miss out on the best Philly fan experience anywhere. Philly Sports Trip customers always stay at the best hotels and meet NFL legends. Book today.
There you have it, everybody. phillysportstrips.com. If you're just joining us, here's the thing with Mitch Williams and Tom Arnone. We're live every Monday, 1 p.m. Eastern. Set your alerts, subscribe, hit the like, stay with us. We got about 17 live shows over here on A2D Radio. So if you don't like us, you'll find somebody you love. I promise you that. So coming back, we wanted to talk a little bit about Trea Turner. I also, I'm going to have the company, Mitch, that you work for, I'm going to have them be brought to you by our poll question. So after we get through Trea Turner, I'll play that. We'll talk about Trea. And, before we went to break, Mitch was talking about his bat angle. And his bat angle, hold This is common physics here, right? So if your bat wraps like this, the common physics after that is it has one way to go. And what way that is to go is here, right? It's going to then get loopy, and you're going to work underneath more stuff than you want to. Now, can some guys pull that off? Yeah, Mike Trout, big time rapper, hence why he hammers the pitch at his knees. He hammers it. So you only have one way to go from there. So by Mitch talking about him rapping too much, what's going to happen is you're going to get long, okay? Not only are you going to get long, but you're going to get loopy, okay?
Yeah.
So the loopy part is what's killing him because now everything drops down, and now you have one way to work, and that's underneath, where if you're here, right, here's where he's at, all you got to do is just be right here. That's okay. You're not going to have as much.
Watch what Bryce does when he goes to the plate. He goes up plate. He's got the bat flat. Pitcher starts into his delivery, and the first thing Bryce does is pop his barrel up. When your barrel is up, that means you're going from high to low to high. That Trea Turner's in that launch angle swing, which I can't stand. Launch angle means nothing. If you're hitting the baseball the way you're supposed to be hitting it, your bat angle should be down through the zone and finishing high. Those kind of guys scared me. And as a pitcher, when I went out to the mound, all I had to do was look at the hitter's bat. And I knew if he was a high ball hitter or a low ball hitter. And if he's wrapped, all he can get to is a hanging breaking ball or a mistake fastball down.
Yeah, exactly. That's why, I see a lot of guys, like I said, you're going to a little turn to the catcher, right? You go a little bit to the catcher and I'm good. I don't want to start getting here. I don't even really want to be here, right? Definitely not. I mean, like I said, there's only a couple guys in the big leagues that can pull that off. One's Trout, right?
Yeah, well, Trout's 240 pounds of muscle too. Understand that. Trea Turner might weigh 180.
Yeah.
There's a big difference. All he has to do is watch video. Just watch video of your swing, and you will see where your mistakes are being made. No different than being on the mound.
Yeah, I don't.
You have to watch.
I don't understand. Like, I know Kevin Long's really good at his job. I know Trea Turner doesn't come off as a selfish know-it-all guy. He just doesn't have that vibe to me. He doesn't have it. So either, and I said this last night too much, either it's being talked about, which, listen, I do it all the time. I do a lesson with a guy. We'll have a point of emphasis. We'll work on it week in, week out. And then I'll hear stories of, hey, little Bobby's doing this again. Wait, what? What? We go over. It's a point of emphasis. How? Now, granted, they're not the 1%. Get to the 1% for a second. I'm sure that's being talked about. I'm sure that is being addressed. It has to be. And the only thing is he got himself into it, which now he's got to feel it. That's the biggest thing. As a hitter, as a pitcher, I can't make that adjustment if I don't feel it. We can tell you all the time, hey, but I'll say it to a hitter all the time. When he goes, oh, I felt that, coach. I said, well, now we're on to something. Now we can make strides that clean something up because you feel what we're working on. If you don't feel it, it's all BS. I'm just telling you, you know it, but we can't change it.
If you can't feel it and you don't watch it, you have to watch it yourself to fix it. And for me, the easiest way to fix that is tee work. Get on a tee. People don't understand that cheap little tee that kids hit off, that big leaguers hit off, that's one of the best inventions ever because it will show you how to feel, what you should feel like when your barrel moves through the zone. I just don't understand it. You have to make adjustments. At the big league level, it's all adjustments. And I see some of these comments coming up. I've seen Tony Gwynn live. Tony Gwynn was a great hitter. Tony Gwynn was an unbelievable hitter. But this is a guy that used his hands. When you start getting armsy and your shoulders are flying, and watch Trea when he goes through the zone on a fastball, it's all shoulders. instead of hands. Your hands have to start the swing.
Yeah, we've gotten into a world where you can just search Instagram for 5 minutes and there'll be guys that want to talk to you about this, doing this. And never once did I ever do this. I talk to haters all the time. My hands are going to lead my shoulders through. Not my shoulders are taking my hands through, right? Because then I can pull off everything. I think your front shoulder opens up as your hand clears. It doesn't open up and then your hands come working behind it. It makes no sense. I want to stay on a baseball.
Watch Trea swing. When his barrel is out in front. If your barrel is out in front of your hands, you're in trouble. Because the only thing you're going to do is be late, or you can catch a hanging breaking ball, which he did the other night and hit a home run. But you look at it, your hands at contact, your hands will be in front of your barrel if you're swinging the bat the proper way.
You work. I mean, this is why in the history of baseball, it hasn't changed. You hear a lot of guys still do it, but the knob leads you through.
You take the knob to the ball.
Yes. So I mean, there's a guy. I mean, Alex Bregman, pretty good, everybody, right? I know people want to talk about trash cans and all this stuff. That's great. Still got to hit. Alex Bregman's pretty good. So Alex Bregman not only can lose a baseball, Alex Bregman hits for average. Alex Bregman's a guy that I say, you know what? That's a complete hitter in today's day and age of hitting, right? He's complete. Well, he literally does a drill where he just works. I mean, and you see what I'm doing? He's working that across his body that much extra, which is obviously you're not going to do that, but he's getting in the muscle memory of that leading through, over exaggerating a ton, right?
That's
a ton.
Staying inside the baseball.
Yep.
If your hands are not inside the baseball, that means your swing is long, which means all I got to do is throw in underneath your hands because you're casting them. When you're casting your hands and your barrel gets out in front of your hands, you're an out. And that's what Trea is dealing with right now. He's got to just find a drill. And Kevin Long, God knows, this guy is a good hitting coach. He's got to just go back to basics.
No, he really does. He really does. And hopefully, listen, I thought the homer was going to break him out this series. He didn't have a terrible series at the plate. You know, he did have the big RBI double the other night when Wheeler pitched. But this all leads in to two gigantic series for the Philadelphia Phillies moving forward. And that ties us into our poll question. And it's Raymond Transportation, right, Mitch?
Yes, Raymond Transportation.
Right? Raymond Transportation. So let's see if I can not make it loop this time and get it right the first time. But here's a little commercial by them, and then I'll read off the poll question.
I'm partners in this company, so you listen to this. You better listen.
Better listen. Do it.
Mitch Williams here. If your company ships freight, join my winning team at Raymond Transportation Corporation. Let us become part of your team. RTC has been serving shippers nationwide for 26 years. With 10 terminals located throughout the U.S., volume LTL, small LTL, truckload, and rail. You can count on RTC to be the closer you need. I know firsthand that the Delaware Valley demands accountability. Call me at 800-206-3983 to schedule a meeting. Give me one shipment, and we will earn the rest.
Bang. Hope you all listen to that. Stay with us. Ties into our poll question, okay? Our poll question is brought to you by Raymond Transportation. So go check them out. And our poll that we're getting into a little later because, like I said, this when you're talking baseball, you got to review the week that just happened. So it's hard to have a poll looking forward when we got some things to go over in the past, but we have a lot of questions. I still have 3 more questions, not including this one for Mitch, as we're already 34 minutes through because we love baseball. But our poll for this afternoon show is the Phillies must win both of the next 2 series to make you believe they are a playoff team again. Do you agree or disagree? Let us know. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch. Sorry, we're not live on Twitch. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and everywhere you get your podcasts, we're there as well. Hit the like, subscribe, follow, and as I always say, most importantly, join the conversation this afternoon. And always join the conversation with us. I see, Matt, we'll get to yours. Alex, where are you hiding? This is officially 2 weeks of no smoking for Tom. So where you hiding, you better give me some credit for that. As you're taking jabs, make sure you give the credit. Follow that with credit. All right. Appreciate you. Appreciate you noticing. Okay. Mitch, I had a deep voice since I was 2 years old, just to let people know. Some people had a little, I'm not going to get too far with this. Some people had some things down below that other guys maybe never got. So I apologize.
Yeah, I've kind of had a deep voice, but it wasn't that way when I was young.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to find some VHSs for the people, and we'll play it sometime. We'll do a little sit down.
If we're going to talk about these next two series, yes, they play the Mets and Washington. Am I correct?
Yep.
In your division, you must win series. It's just that simple. I mean, the Marlins are ahead of the Phillies. That can't happen. That simply can't happen. They've got to go to New York, win 2 of 3, and Washington, they should sweep. If they don't sweep them, I'm worried about them playing down to their competition because they've done it so often this year. They take 2 of 4 from the Braves, the best record in the National League, and they'll play a team like San Francisco and get swept. That, for me, that's a focus and concentration thing.
No, it is. It is. I'm looking at this 2 ways. You're 100% right. You have to take care of this stuff now, right? You have to win. You have to win divisional games now. It's just like everything's so log jammed, because obviously it's still early. But the whole wild card thing is a total log jam right now, and probably will be for a little bit more period of time. So, you can't go losing 2 out of 3. Right now you're two. Not that this matters at all, but you're 2 back from that last wild card spot, right? So, okay, they still got to go 2 or 3.
We're looking at that in May.
No, just giving everybody an example, just showing everybody as bad as they played and not up to par, that they're right in it. So yes, the division seems a long ways away, but 7 games can be made up in no time. I think we've all witnessed that. So everything's still for the taking, right? I agree to the poll. They have to take 2 out of 3. So saying all that, I still agree to the poll completely, because you can't lose 2 out of 3 to New York and then go to Washington and lose 2 out of 3. So if you lost 2 out of 3 to New York, okay, then the caveat is you better go sweep Washington then.
Absolutely.
Now, if you take 2 out of 3 from New York, I'm not going to tell you to go sweep Washington. I'll settle with 2 out of 3. Should you sweep Washington? Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes, you should. Would that make me feel even better? Yeah, it would make me feel really good you sleeping. But I'll just stick with the 2 out of 3 from right now. Go take care of business, or just say, hey, you better go 4-2. Any way you want to slice it over the next 6 games, I need a 4-2. I need 4-2 from you at minimum. All right. And maybe even a 5-1. But I prefer, if you're going to get the 4-2, that's 2 out of 3, 2 out of 3. Then you losing 2 out of 3 to New York, because then that doesn't make me feel comfortable.
Within your own division, if they can manage to take 2 of 3 from the Mets and sweep Washington, you're talking about a 7-3 road trip within your division. Those are the things that winning teams do. This lineup is loaded. They have got so much talent in this lineup, and it just hasn't performed up to par so far. It's going to take Bryce or somebody like Bryce to blow up in that clubhouse. That's what it's going to take. I played with the best leader I ever had with Darren Dalton. Jim Fregosi never yelled at us. It was Dutch. If we did something stupid, we got our ass chewed. I'll never forget, I think it was Mother's Day weekend, St. Louis came in, and we swept them. And they were the ones directly behind us. And the first thing Dutch said when we went in that locker room, no comments to the media. about us sweeping. Keep your mouths shut. I mean, this is the kind of thing you don't give other people billboard stuff or whatever they call that to put up in their clubhouse so they can say, oh, these guys are all full of themselves. We're going to go out there and kick their ass. We didn't do that. Dutch took control of all of it. And that's what it's going to take. Someone like Bryce to snap something, turn a table over, do something to get a fire started under this team.
Now, I got a couple questions for you. One, because I'm interested, right? I want to know how these things work. How we obviously have heard all the stories, on how great of a leader Dutch was, right?
Unbelievable,
etc. But now, how does a guy get himself to that point of respect, right? Obviously, Dutch will kick your ass, but
lead
not
by example.
Yeah, but that's where I was going, right? So everything Dutch did, it's follow the leader, right?
Yeah.
And watch how he goes about his business, and then you respond more to the boisterous side, right?
Yeah. It's all about respect. Dutch earned his respect because he had 10 knee surgeries, and he's out there catching every day. This is how he didn't say, respect me. He just led by example, and everyone fell in line. And Bryce is that kind of guy. He can be that kind of guy. But every now and then, that guy has got to be mean and jump someone's ass in that clubhouse. And I don't know whether Trea Turner needs to be jumped on right now, or because there's some guys you can put a foot in their ass and they'll take off and go. There's some guys you can yell at and they will just shrivel up completely and go away. You have to fit. That's all managing is. You're not managing the game. You're managing 25 personalities. I sat there with Charlie. I used to stand behind the cage during BP and talk with Charlie Manuel every day. And I'll never forget, Tom Gordon walked out of the dugout for batting practice to go out and shag. And Charlie yelled over to him, "Hey, Flash!" And Tom said, "Hey, Charlie." And Charlie said to me, he said, "If I don't say hello to him every day, something's wrong." He gets upset. Charlie knew every personality on that team in 2008. That's how you win as a manager. You manage the personalities and put them in situations to have success.
It's perfect. I mean, you said it perfectly. I say this in all sports. Other sports are a little bit more strategic, like football, right? Where, okay, more X and O stuff. In baseball, for 162, especially because it's a marathon, you absolutely, the amount of time you spend with guys, that you better be great at that. You better be A+ at that. Because if you're A+ at that, the other things you might not have to be A+ at. You could be B+. Your strategies and strategic thinking and making your moves can be a B+ thing, even as a solid B. But if you're an A+ guy in knowing your personalities, knowing, hey, you know what? Whatever the case is, like this guy needs this guy needs a bat here, whatever, like I need to say hi to Flash every day, whatever the situation is, to get guys happy and get guys to play for you.
Confidence
will create that, the confidence side, even at the big league level. Like we think this game is still 90% mental. I don't care what level you're playing it at. If you're good enough, it becomes 90% mental. And are you able to, as a coach, to clear this out, right? To clear this side of it out. So many of these guys, even at this level, like a Trea Turner, for example, since we've been talking about Trea, right, is once it gets in here, who's the guy to clear them?
Exactly.
Because nobody's done it yet. Nobody's been able to clear the brain yet.
They have to figure out what button to push. It's Trea's first year here in Philadelphia. Maybe they don't know which button to push. Does he need a foot in his butt, or does he need to be coddled? You got to figure out every single player. And Charlie was one of the best I ever saw at it. When I came to Philly here in 91, I got traded the night before opening day. I show up. Nick Leyva calls me in his office and says, "You're going to split closing with Roger McDowell." I said, "That's fine." Well, 13 games into the season, They fire Nick Leva and hire Jim Fregosi. Well, it turns out that I had, I think, 14 saves my first 2 years in the big leagues, and I think 6 of them were against Fregosi and the White Sox.
Okay.
Called me in his office that day and said, "You are my closer." I got all of my confidence from Jim Fregosi because he handed me the baseball and walked up the tunnel and smoked and said, "Let me know when it's over." That's the kind of guy he was. And Charlie was the same way. He knew how to manage his personalities. That's all it is at that level, at any level. Guys will shrink or they'll rise to the occasion, but you have to figure out how to make them rise.
Well, we're going to talk about that level too. I got to do a quick read, and we're going to talk about because it's part of the next question. So we both agree to the poll, which I figured we would. You know, that they got to take 2 out of 3, win these next 2 series if they want to be a playoff team. Like they got to take care. If these were 6 games outside the division, the conversation could be a little bit different, right? It could be a little bit different. Say still early, right? Blah 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 blah. Being you don't play as many in the division as we usually do, the importance of them become even higher, especially when one of those teams is a shit team that you've dominated last year. You dominated Washington last year. You got to do those things again. So you're speaking of roles. You know, congratulations to Craig Kimbrell because he's the 3rd quickest guy, the 400 saves. That's it. He's the 8th guy in baseball history with 400 saves. Not an easy accomplishment.
No.
Shows the longevity, shows how much people have trusted. Here's the baseball talk. So being that, let me read this again. Did you? Okay, now did you personally, because I got a twofold on this question, did you personally anticipate them using Craig as much in the closer role as they did with some of the struggles he had last year in it? And to go off of that, would you just hand him because of his experience, right? Would you just hand him the ball from here on out until he gives you a big enough reason to not hand him the baseball?
You have to have someone that is named closer. That's plain and simple. If you don't say, "Craig, you're my closer," trust me, you are not going to get the best out of him. So he struggled. Relievers struggle every now and then, year to year. But when you got a guy that saved 400 games, he knows how to close out a game. Give him the baseball and leave him alone. It's just that easy. He's going to draw his confidence from Rob Thompson. If Rob Thompson gives him the baseball in the 9th and he gives up a hit or a walk, I can tell you for a fact, when I went from Philadelphia to Houston, I had a first-year manager, Terry Collins. Every time I walked to the mound in a save situation, there was 2 guys up in the bullpen. And I'm like, wait a minute. You told me I'm the closer, and you got 2 guys warming up already. So that did not give me confidence. That made me question myself. Fregosi, I could walk the bases drunk. He's going to leave me out there because he didn't have anybody else that could get out of that situation.
Well, that makes you better. That makes you better, Mitch, because now you're not looking over your shoulder. Like you say, hey, if I fail, I fail. And guess what? If I fail tonight, he's giving me the baseball tomorrow. So if I don't get it done, he has the confidence in me to say, all right, you didn't get it done last night. Happens in this game. Here's the baseball again.
That's how it has to work. A closer draws every single bit of his confidence from his manager. He doesn't want to look down the bullpen and see 2 guys up. Give Kimbrell the baseball. He's proven over his career he's going to save a whole lot more than he's going to blow. I can't stand his pre-pitch, this all bent over and everything. My back would be killing me if I did all the stuff he does. But he has proven time and time again, he knows how to close a baseball game. And that's the only difference. Alvarado has the best stuff in that bullpen. But I'm not going to trust him in the 9th until he shows me he can go out there and do it on a day-to-day basis. The only thing I don't like right now is yesterday, Kimbrough was unavailable. If you're a closer, you're never unavailable. That is your job.
Especially how hard he works too.
Yes.
With all his extra, the extra stuff he does. I would real quick, Mitch. I'll read this to you. But I was just looking up. I mean, you had 192 career saves, which is a lot, right? I mean, that's
ain't 400.
And that's a lot, and that's a lot of saves. And if you and everything was back together after 93, I would venture to guess that Jim would have handed you a ball again and again and again, right?
Yes.
But Don Zimmer said, this is just funny because I was looking stuff up just about you since we're talking closers. Cubs manager Don Zimmer said about Williams, he did everything 99 miles an hour. Because it said, how fast did Mitch throw, right? That was like the Google result. And a teammate and close friend, Mark Grace, said, Mitch pitches like his hair's on fire. So
that's exactly right.
I just
went
love
out
that.
there.
I love that.
I'll never forget we're in an old Fulton County Stadium. And the dugout or the bullpens were down the left field line. Well, Jim had called the bullpen and said, get Mitch up. Well, he's standing in the dugout. Well, the dugout is in line with the bullpen. And I swear to God, I airmail a fastball that hits the concrete right in front of Zim's face. And all Zim did was look at Dick Pole and goes, well, my closer's ready. That's how Zim was. He handed me the baseball. I didn't become a good closer until I got to the Cubs with Zimmer.
Mm-hmm.
Opening day, we're facing the Phillies in '89. My first day in the National League. Came in the eighth with a guy on the second with a 5-4 lead. Rick Sutcliffe is looking to become the all-time leader in opening day wins. Well, I go out there, I get out of the eighth, go back out for the ninth. The first three hitters get broken bat singles. Zimmer didn't have anybody up. And Mike Schmidt is walking to the plate. I had just watched a thing on TV in the cafeteria about Mike Schmidt and his 51 career homers at Wrigley. And this is who's walking to the plate with bases loaded. And I swear to you, that's the first thing I thought of, was that thing I watched before the game. Struck Schmidt out. I ended up striking out the side, getting out of it, and getting a save. If Zimmer had taken me out of that game, my confidence would have been shot. Instead, he left me in there to get out of the trouble that I created. That
as a closer
confidence.
Too. Yeah, yes. And as a closer in that year, right, the year you're talking about, as a closer now, you were 10th in NL MVP voting in 1989. I don't know if you never knew that one.
No, I didn't know. I knew I finished 10th in MVP and 8th in Cy Young that year. And in 91.
Yeah, ninth. In 91, you were 6th. You were 6th in Cy Young.
I never knew that until I went to MLB Network.
Wow.
That was something I had no idea that I'd finished 6th.
Well, it just shows you how great you were through those years and how much Zimmer's confidence he gave in you, right, when you went to Chicago that first year and you were in the All-Star game, 36 saves, 2.76 earned run average. I mean, that's filthy. I always wanted to ask you a question because I got to get to a read here in a second, but and we'll keep talking. But I always wanted to ask you a question of, do you think if they ran it all back in 94, right, that you guys could have did it again? That you guys, because how tough you guys were, that you would have been able to do what you guys did again and get back there?
Yes. They traded me and they traded Terry Mulholland.
Why? I mean, now, like, listen, this sport can eat you up at times, right? But you were great in 93. All right, you were great in 93. I don't care about a last pitch. That's somebody. We weren't winning that series anyway. That series was lost prior to that. If people really want to get deep in the series on how they're lost, it was lost prior to that. Let's be clear.
I lost it in game 4. I lost it in game 4 and then put a cap on it in game 6.
But listen, Okay, and I'm not giving you an out on it. I'm just saying that team that we faced at that year, we weren't as good as them.
Oh, Toronto, it had no effect on me at the time, but that team was loaded with Hall of Famers.
Loaded.
There wasn't an easy out in that lineup. You had to concentrate. Every single pitch you threw, you knew could be hit out of the ballpark. I mean, Ricky Henderson, Robbie Alomar, you go down, Paul Molitor, just go down the list of the guys on that team. So they're some of the best baseball players that ever walked on the field. I mean, I lost that series. No question about it. But I wasn't ashamed of it because I went out there and I gave everything I had.
Everything you have.
Just wasn't enough.
Yeah, and that happens, though. I mean, listen, we weren't even, like, this is where I love people. Like, even in 93, like, was I upset when we lost? Of course. I love the Phillies, right? It's the only thing I know. But at the end of the day, as you get older, like, if that happened now, right, I'm 40 now, right? So if that happened to us now and know that, wow, that was lightning in the bottle, I'm not even upset. Like, I wasn't even upset this year. I mean, goodness gracious. Like, we keep things in perspective once in a while in this city. I would love for fans to keep things in perspective because nobody does it. I'm an emotional guy, all right? But this past year, were we supposed to be a playoff team coming into the year? No. But
no chance.
We like, when the year started, we weren't going to be. But prior to the year, we should be a playoff team with what we went out and added, right?
If that doesn't show you, Tom, what a manager can do for a baseball team. I mean, as soon as, and Joe Girardi's a friend of mine, but Joe Girardi was so tied up in sabermetrics and all that crap, his head was down in the dugout rather than watching the game, what's going on in front of him. And his disconnect with his players was so obvious.
But why? Why? Because he's always had a connection with his players. So why did he? I mean, I get the sabermetrics and that the dry jock stuff that these guys want to get involved in. But why would that, as a guy who's been a baseball guy for as long as he's been, he knows the mental side. He knows the confidence side, right? Why would that be a disconnect with him?
You know, the one of the things I noticed, Tom, that bothered me was one of his guys could hit a home run and everybody's high-fiving him and everything. And Joe is standing there with all this paperwork in front of him in the dugout with his head down looking. He was a smart enough baseball player. He was a catcher. He should be able to recognize the things he needs to recognize on that day. The past doesn't mean a thing. It honestly doesn't. You talk to some hitters, a guy named Billy Joe Robideau owned me. Well, that's it. But tomorrow, I may get him out.
Yeah.
The game changes on a day-to-day basis, and as a manager, you walk around and talk to your players. Talk to them. Get that connection with them. Ask them how they're feeling. Joke with them. If you do that, then you have that connection, and you want to go out and play the game the way it's meant to be played. And Joe, I just think, got lost. His years in New York, his bullpen in New York, my kid could have managed that bullpen.
Anybody. My 2-year-old could have. Yep.
I mean, that's just how it was. He had the best team in baseball. He didn't have to do much. When he came here to Philly, he had to put some stuff together, and he couldn't do it because he was always looking at the paperwork rather than watching the game unfold in front of him.
Well, before we get out of here, we're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll get back here and wrap it up for today. Mitch, it's great insight, and I love it. It's great getting even deeper insight on things that I thought I may have thought but wasn't sure of, and people out there. This is why this show's the best. This is why we'll be the best baseball show in the country for everybody to listen to, especially here in Philadelphia, because we get a little deeper. Right. And right there is getting a little deeper into it and figuring out why a guy who was such a great baseball guy for years could work his way so far away from it and have the disconnect that he had. And I'll say this, we're talking about leaders and we're talking about the clubhouse and the confidence. Listen, I know the guy tore his ACL. This isn't football. This is 2023 modern medicine. But Reese Hoskins is signed and playing in Philadelphia next year. And you're going to get it on a cheaper deal, and it's a no-brainer because I think we can now realize, and this team's got a lot of baseball still to play, right? But the importance he is as that guy in the locker room. He just is. That's what he is. That's where everybody talks about he is. So, it's going to be interesting. We got a long time to talk about that. And as the season comes to an end, we'll have more conversations in the offseason about how they work that out, especially if Harper doesn't go to the outfield. How do they figure that out? But,
I think Bryce is going to end up being an everyday first baseman. I really do. He's athletic as hell. It's not going to take him long to learn the footwork at first base. All it is catching the baseball. That's it. And learning angles on throwing to second base on a double play.
Well,
that's the extent of learning first base. Catch the ball when they throw it to you.
Yeah.
Ryan Howard, who I love to death, but you don't use two hands to catch a baseball at first base. It shortens your reach. It blocks your vision. And I had never seen a first baseman use two hands to catch a baseball. That, to me, just showed me a guy that had no confidence in his own ability.
Yeah, which is crazy. All right, we'll take a quick commercial. We'll be back. We'll finish up for today and get out of here, and everybody will enjoy their Memorial Day.
Hey, Birds fans, the NFL schedule has arrived and Philly Sports Trips has all the details now. Visit the site phillysportstrips.com. This is sure to be an epic season. Be sure to go there now to make sure that you don't get shut out. Join us in Tampa, LA, Seattle, or when we get revenge in Kansas City. Don't want to fly? No problem. Gather up your crew and hop aboard one of our signature boisterous bus trips to DC or New York. Sign up now and make sure to mention A2D. Don't miss out on the best Philly fan experience anywhere. Philly Sports Trip customers always stay at the best hotels and meet NFL legends. Book today.
There you have it, phillysportstrips.com. And hey, Birds fans, we got some huge news. Philly Sports Trips has released their Eagles schedule. Make sure you go check out my friends from phillysportstrips.com. Reserve your spot today. You'll get to watch a Birds game in a great city and hang with former Eagles like Hollis Thomas and the like. You catch Hollis every Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern on Vetted on HUD Radio with himself and Irvin Fryer. It's a great show. Go check it out. Philly Sports Trips books at the best hotels and has the best Eagles available. You'll have a blast. Book now and tell them HUD sent you. Happy Memorial Day, Matt. Appreciate everybody tuning in.
Yes.
Ryan had a ton of comments. Mean Metal Mike, he's out. Mean Metal Mike's out. He said, hot take, we're getting swept by the Mets.
Oh, wow. No, I don't think we're getting swept, but I do want to say something about the Eagle trips. If you go to Washington, I want to know what the name of that team is going to be because they weren't smart enough to trademark the name Commanders. Somebody else owns the name Commanders, so I can't wait to find out what this dope down there is going to name his football team.
It's crazy, right? Can you mess up? Can you mess up anymore?
Oh, no, that guy down there cannot possibly mess up anymore.
I don't like Josh Harris just because of some of the things he's done Sixers-wise, per se, even though it's not on him. But I'm almost upset that Daniel Snyder is selling the Washington Commanders because they will get better just because he's not in charge anymore.
Yes, they will. That was a clown show down there. It really has been for a long time. And it starts with Snyder. And I'm not sure that if Josh Harris gets in there, it's going to be any better.
No, it might not be better. Philly Sports House will then be called the Washington football team again. Yep, that's coming. Greg, that's a lot of great names. Dallas Green, Charlie Manuel, Fergosi, Francona, who's still a great manager. Still a great one.
Let me tell you something. One of my sons is named Dallas for one reason. After the World Series, I was playing for Houston. I went out for batting practice. Dallas Green was in the Mets dugout. He was the manager. He walked over from his dugout to my dugout, stuck his finger in my face and said, "You can pitch for me anytime." And I never forgot it. And that's the reason one of my sons' name is Dallas.
And you needed that right then too, right?
Oh, he was one of those guys that had high expectations of character. If you weren't a character guy and busted your ass, trust me, Dallas was going to be all over you.
I love that. I love hearing those backstories and those little things that happen through the years, right? That stick with a guy like you who played at the highest level, to the point where, you name your son after it. You name your son after a man, right? It says a lot about that, the impact that those words had on you at that time when you need it. We needed it. Like, everybody gets down in this sport at times, right? No matter what level.
I can tell you this for a fact. I would have never saved 50 games in my career if I didn't get traded to the Cubs and Don Zimmer, and then get traded from Zim to Fregosi, because those two guys, I can't say enough about those guys and what they did for my career.
Doesn't that just tell people everything we've talked about on this show? An hour, 5 minutes on what we've talked about, on how the importance of the impact, the importance of the confidence, right? Like, I can say it right now and stand by it. And I don't know if there's a guy I've coached in the last decade, right, that will say that my confidence in them as a player never wavered. And I actually probably brought them up a level because of my belief in anybody I've coached. I pride myself in it. I pride myself. I think that's something that I missed having until I got older, of having that guy believe in me, which I was able to turn a corner, right? Because this game is so much confidence. But when you can play this game loose and you can play this game relaxed, you can have the success you're meant to have. It's that simple. It's that simple.
If you have talent, the game is 99%. They say baseball's a game of inches. It ain't the 2 inches the ball's fair or the 2 inches the ball's foul. It's the 6 inches between your ears. And that's all it is. And you get that from your managers and your coaches.
You're the best, Mitch. You really are. I mean, we see eye to eye. What a great show. We're getting hot, and we don't ever disagree. So, which is great. You know what I mean? And we still get hot and going.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just passionate about the game, and there's certain things about the game I love still, and there's certain things about the game I hate. And stupid mistakes I hate. And we've seen enough of them this year.
Yeah, this is like a Kobe Shaq duo, Don. You know what I mean? This is equivalent to, like,
which one am I?
Whatever one you want to be, I'm good. you name it, I'll take the other guy.
Shaq had one of the best stories ever. When he was in LA, some of his teammates told him, "You need to go talk to Kobe." So Shaq went over and said, "Kobe, there is no I in team." And Kobe looked at him and said, "Well, there's a me in that motherfucker." So, I mean, that's the kind of, you have to have rapport with your teammates, but most of all, you have to have a rapport with the guy that is putting you out on the field. If he's putting you out on the field and he doesn't have confidence in you, you know it. Mm-hmm. Trust me, you will know it.
You absolutely know it. And I wasn't going to say MJ and Scotty, because they're going through some things right now. So we're not going to do the MJ and Scotty thing. Scotty is I mean, I'll leave you with this. Scotty definitely a crumb of the week, because, like, don't say Mike wasn't a great basketball player, Scotty. Like, you're both part of why you guys won 6 rings.
Wait, he came out and said that Michael wasn't a great basketball player?
Yeah, he said, watch him before I got there. Right? It's a team sport. We know that, Scotty. We know it's a team sport. But don't act like he wasn't great and he wasn't special and he didn't change the game and he didn't help your career as much as you helped his career. Okay?
Absolutely.
Just be fair about it, dude. I understand, right? Everything that's going on after the fact, whatever, you got upset about it. His son's now dating your ex-wife. He's not dating your ex-wife, though. Okay?
No.
He's not. So keep that in mind too, Scotty. And keep, just don't put down a great dynasty that you guys had after the fact. Don't ruin it.
6 championships speaks for itself. I mean, this guy left the game and went and played baseball
and
came back and won 3 more.
Yes. Nobody could do that, Scotty.
No, I watched him play in person one time, and I promise you, he could have gone to the basket every single trip down the court. They couldn't stop him. just couldn't stop him. But when Pippen got there, he had enough talent that it took some of the defense off of Mike. But you think Pippen had the same kind of defense played on him that Michael had played on him?
No.
No. Be realistic, Scotty.
That's it. That's it, Scotty. You don't have to like everything that happened over the years.
Scotty
like,
was a great player, but don't act like you were better than Michael, because better than Michael ain't been invented yet.
No. Ryan, we'll talk about this stuff next week because we got to get out of here. About the pitch clock and more time in between batters and foul balls. I think there's some ways that Major League Baseball can continue to work on this. And, we'll save that for a little bit of next week because it's not going anywhere.
No, I would be willing to bet it will be at least 30 seconds next year, because it's going to hit the owner's pockets, these games being shortened as much as they've been shortened.
Yep. And we'll get deeper into it.
Yeah.
But you're spot on. That's where it starts, right?
Yeah, it's all about money.
If they're losing money, they're not going to be happy. Well,
no.
Listen, go ahead.
Manfred will change another rule. This guy is doing everything he can to destroy this game. You look at he's a lawyer that doesn't like baseball. That's all you need to know.
Well, I'll say like I say in every sport, right? The owners or the guys that sign off on who your commissioner is, they're footing your bill, essentially. So yes. It better be a guy that's going to help grow your pockets and grow the game, because, David Stern, people say whatever we want. David Stern grew the NBA globally. Now, you're talking about a sport that doesn't have a lot of players globally. Major League Baseball, there isn't a sport invented that has more global athletes than Major League Baseball.
No. More
global athletes. The number one language taught in the world, is Spanish, right? It's the number one language in the world. So I got how many players from Latin American countries? Everywhere. And I got how many U.S.-born players? A ton of them. So that's a game that should be easily grown globally if done the right way. But like you said, you got a moron. Leading the charge.
He is catering to one generation, the fantasy baseball generation. He doesn't realize that there's grandpas, great-grandpas, fathers, sons that are all fans. And you're taking and changing the game their grandfather and great-grandfather taught you. He only cares about today's generation and what they want. They want to do everything quick. Trust me when I tell you this. If I pay $400 for my family to go to a baseball game, I want to be there as long as possible. If you don't want to be there, you're not a fan.
No, go in and leave in the 7th.
Yeah. Go move to LA. Show up in the 3rd, leave in the 7th.
Last Monday night was the earliest I ever left the game, and I have an excuse, which is a 2-year-old, right?
Yeah.
As soon as he's old enough, you want to get every dollar's worth. So I actually miss the 4-hour games where I can go do something, come back, and they're still playing. Part of me as an old schooler, right, that, I miss that stuff. I mean, I even say with hitting, like, I got an old school approach. Am I willing to hear new thought processes and new ideas? Absolutely, if they make sense. I'm never going to poo-poo something that doesn't make sense.
90% of the instructors today are only doing it for money. They come up with different ways. Oh, you can increase your velocity. Let me tell you something. You cannot increase your velocity. It's God-given. All velocity is how fast you get your hand from here to release point.
Yeah.
That's velocity, and that is God-given. The only way you can add a little bit is with better mechanics and long throwing. Not long toss, long throwing. We can say that for next week too, but I got to get out of here.
Yeah, great show, as always. Here's the thing with Mitch Williams and Tom Arnone. We'll be back next Monday, 1 p.m. Eastern, same time, same place. And we are brought to you by Philly Sports Trips. And go book your getaway today, phillysportstrips.com. Their Eagles schedule's out. They got Union trips. They got Phillies trips. They got a trip for everybody and everything. Go check them out. We thank you all for tuning in. We love you all. Go Phillies. We got a big week coming up. Let's
See you
go.
all next week.